Hello, in this video we're going to be talking about muscles of the lower limb, part 2, below the knee. So it's not wasting your time. Let's get right to it. Now, when we're talking muscles of the lower limb, below the knee, the first thing we want to emphasize is, one, all the attachments that are going to be above the knee, reaching down to the lower half. Because as we mentioned in the last video, if you're going to really exert a force, you're going to have that attachment point up above. And the diagram you see here, we dealt a lot with the anterior compartment, the front part of the leg. But if you think about the bone and then the muscles around the bone on all four sides, the anterior would be the front, that's the quads, and then the posterior is going to be the hamstrings in the back. And we've all, if you watch sports at all, baseball, football, basketball, whatever, eventually you'll see that dreaded situation with an athlete when they're running, and all of a sudden they just kind of pull up and start kind of hopping on one leg and grabbing the back of their leg, which means they have pulled a hamstring, which is obviously medicine is better in all compartments these days. But again, still the hamstring, it's just a lingering issue that just, for the most part, just takes time and rest. People recover at different speeds, but it just kind of hampers because if you use it, then you just prolong the injury. And within a season, I mean, the seasons are only so long that it's just one of those issues that you just have to deal with in the way you can. But the hamstring is what this one's talking about. And again, the take home, as it has been with these muscles, is the different layers and strands. I mean, you just reach back there and kind of feel the hamstring. You just kind of feel that big muscle. And if you really kind of palpitate it slowly, you can kind of sense or feel different strands. But this diagram does a good job at kind of showing you those different strands, the big long ones and that wrap around the knee, they're in the back, and of course things along the side. So again, the take home is the different strands and the layers as well. Now, as we mentioned, compartments. Again, here's another diagram that just kind of showcases that anterior, posterior, medial, lateral, medial inside, lateral on the outside of the body. And you can see that cross section. You can see the tibia and fibula in there, that big thick bone that you can easily feel. They're on the front of your leg, and then the fibula more in the inside of the muscles. But again, looking at those compartments, and again, this is you kind of looking down into your leg if it was to be a cross section, down into it. But if you stand it upright, the anterior, just like if you took that cross diagram there on the far left and flipped it to where it was parallel to the ground, the anterior would be in the front. But that's the idea of these muscles. And if you feel your leg down there, you can feel a few muscles in the front, but most of it is behind the tibia. And you can see that, and again, the diagram, the big calf muscle in the back, and of course things along the side you can feel. And but that's the idea of the compartments. Okay, this diagram here will look at the front, muscles in the front of the lower part of the leg, and then the next one we'll look at the back, the calf muscles. And again, just as we just kind of talked about, not a lot of muscles in the front. If you feel your tibia, it's kind of on the inside portion of your leg, and then you can feel muscles along the outer side, and behind it more so. But that tibia is kind of on the inside, and it's made to be kind of right underneath, because it's a very heavy load-bearing bone. But again, the take home here is those long tendon that reach down to the foot. Just the idea of kind of doing things with your foot, pulling up your toes, stepping, that whole heel to toe motion. Those are all driven from muscles, not only the ones in the front, but the ones in the back as well. And in this one, the diagram on the far left, the A, has all the muscles, and then the diagrams A, B, or B, C, and D kind of show you individual ones and their attachment points. Both that big one kind of right just to the left of the tibia, and then the one to the left down lower, and then the one to the left up higher. But again, those three muscles all working to do things with your foot, extend it, pull it in. As it mentions, prevent toes from scuffing. That just means dragging your foot. You catch your toes on the carpet or whatever, which is easy to do. These muscles are the ones that work that. All right, so here are the muscles in the back. And again, this is going to be a two-parter. This diagram here shows the ones on the surface, the superior muscles, and again, you see that calf muscle. And again, if you just reach down and kind of palpitate that calf muscle, you're thinking, okay, that's just one big kind of bicep type muscle. But in reality, you can see that it's got the two heads, just like the bicep did. Those two. But again, that long tendon reach down to the bottom. One of the things that kind of comes up at plantarsitis that you'll see with athletes, and just watching sports. I see it more in baseball than for some reason than anywhere. But athletes will deal with this because that tendon will get injured to the point where it's painful to do anything with your feet, move them around. And of course, we know from a walking standpoint, running standpoint, plantarsitis is the term there. But you see it every once in a while. Albert Pujols, if you know who that is, famous Cardinal, then Los Angeles Angels. But he suffered a lot with that, even to the point to where he just couldn't run. I mean, he was, DH, hit the long ball, get around the bases the best he could, but, playing first base is when he needed to. Just trying to do things where there wasn't a lot of running involved. You just hear about it from time to time. And it comes from the injury to that long tendon. Okay, so this is part 2 of the looking at the back of the leg. This is now the first layer has been removed, and now we're looking at the lower layer, the deeper layer. And again, these are muscles that wrap around the side of the knee and wrap around to the front for that torque, for that drive, that pull. But again, just emphasizing the different layers. And again, we'll deal with the names in the lab type settings. We'll take care of that then. But just their interaction with the knee, interaction from above, just kind of working that lower leg. And this is the same diagram, just bigger. Again, emphasizing the motion, being able to kind of lift your leg, but also maybe that forward thrust when walking, pushing off the ground. We're going to look at the muscles in the feet and the tendons, and we're going to see, as I mentioned earlier, similar to the hand, a little bit of muscles in the palm or in the middle, but long tendons reaching down to the toes. But again, just a multiple sets to get that action going in any particular muscle. An injury kind of hampers kind of the whole thing. All right, and so here's obviously the feet, and again we can kind of see the bottom view, the top view. Again, we can see that just kind of like with the palms, a little bit of muscles in the middle, kind of reaching up a little bit, but a lot of tendon connections with those toes, being able to pull down. So one of the things that that we don't really have the ability to do is our toes are good for for walking and for maintaining that motion, but they're not really like hands, like many other organisms can use their feet like hands. Obviously birds would be the case. They don't have hands, but what we call their feet, they can grasp around a tree branch or a wire. I mean, seeing hawks sit on telephone wires, just you just have to think about that they're grasping that wire to kind of hold them in place, and then to balance themselves just over the wire and sit there for long periods of time. But we also know that monkeys and chimpanzees and things in that grouping able to grip and climb. I mean, they can hold on to branches with their feet, hold on branches with their hands, and really climb super fast through trees and move around. And that's something we don't have the ability to, and this is the reason why, because we don't really have muscles in those areas to fully take our foot and just wrap it around something. Cool if we could, but we just don't have that ability. And kind of lastly, a slide here, a scene here, just kind of common injuries, and if you're involved in sports at all, or even just life sometimes. I mean, especially when you get to someone my age, shin splints, if you've ever had those are painful. Hamstrings, as I mentioned, but any kind of repetition kind of injury, whether it's tennis elbow or you can get the carpal tunnel, rotator cuff, as I mentioned. Those can all come about because of use and overuse, and you just have to take the time to rest those injuries. That whole no pain, no gain philosophy, I mean, that was just something that people used to encourage you to keep going regardless of how you were feeling. But that's not something you certainly want to live by. Those muscles are telling you something, and obviously we need to respond properly to that. All right, so that's our video over muscles of the lower limb below the knee. Again, make sure you got all the notes and everything for your test. And this concludes this section. And let's see what would be the next one is going to be. I'm drawing a blank. So I'll just have to say I'll have to think about it, and we'll see you then.